Hello people, I am Jaby KOAY, joined by Simone BOUFFARD. We're going to look at the trailer to Notebook. This is starring Pranutan Bahl and Zaheer Iqbal. It's directed by Nitink Kakar. This comes out March 29th. Mark your calendars, that's a little over a month away. And this comes from Salman Khan Films. Thank you, Salman Khan Films, for allowing us to react to this. Very, very much appreciated. Let's check this out.
वो बहुत खूबसूरत है, लेकिन मैंने उसे कभी देखा ही नहीं। वो बहुत बोलती है, पर मैंने उसे कभी सुना ही नहीं। प्यार हो गया मुझे उससे, जिसे मैं कभी मिला ही नहीं।
यहाँ दूर दूर तक कोई नहीं है। सजाए काला पानी से कम नहीं है ये। शायद ये जगह इतनी दूर है कि यहाँ उम्मीद को पहुँचने में भी वक्त लगेगा। हेलो! हेलो! आपको गेस करना है कि मेरा नाम क्या? फटाफट। संकट बार-बार एक फिर दो करेक्ट।
Is this like the Lake House with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock? Where like, okay.
तारीख पे तारीख, तारीख पे तारीख।
तारीख, मेरा नाम कबीर है। चलो, पढ़ाई शुरू करो।
Yeah, it must be because of the letters.
नहीं जा सकती।
स्कूल है ये फिरदौस। 1 बजे बता दो यार मुझे यार।
Sorry, I messed
मेरे
up.
पास एक नहीं 7 बजे।
Good morning. Good morning.
टाइम नहीं है मेरे पास।
What a jerk. Yeah, this is definitely like the Lake House.
Yeah.
Without the magical element.
सर वो टीचर जो मुझसे पहले पढ़ाती थी, वो कहाँ है अभी?
उनकी शादी हो रही है इसलिए तो आपको नौकरी मिली।
Oh no.
सर, क्या कर रहे हो? गुटर गु, गुटर गु, गुटर गु। पलकों पे उस
मैं जानता हूँ तुम्हारी जिंदगी में मेरे लिए कोई जगह नहीं है, लेकिन तुमसे प्यार करने के लिए मुझे कोई वजह की जरूरत भी नहीं।
Conflict.
जिंदगी में हम भले ही कभी ना मिल पाए, कम से कम इस नोटबुक में हम हमेशा साथ रहेंगे।
Oh, this is very, the name is very justified.
Yes.
Does she even know who he is?
क्या कर रहे हो? कुछ नहीं? गुटर गु, गुटर गु, गुटर गु। अरे।
I apologize if this was edited to chop up some of the music because sometimes the music at length will create, copyright claims and whatever, so just want to put that out there. Anyway, I laughed a little bit because I could see that you were really getting into it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I just was like kind of taken back by like how much you were into it. I was like, whoa, like she really is into it. Like you're like, oh my gosh. Like as if you were already watching the movie.
Right. Well, okay, there's a couple of things. I mean, it seems very Lake House. It's not really it's The Notebook.
If you guys haven't seen The Lake House, basically the premise of it is there's this magical mailbox and Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves are able to speak to each other and they're a year apart in the story, but they're able to talk to each other through this mailbox for some reason.
Right. I couldn't tell the amount of time because it said 2007. Okay, it was.
Yeah, it was a year. It's just like The Lake House, it was a year, but they took out, I mean, I don't know if The Lake House was an inspiration for this, but there was no magical element in there of them being able to actually talk to each other as far as the trailer was indicating. It just seemed like he was kind of falling in love with this girl who has no idea who he is. But he obviously, seeing her notebook, will know so much about her that if he ever does get to talk to her, which, I mean, that's the trajectory of the story, I'm sure, is they're going to talk by the third act of the film. Like, he's going to know her so well that the conversation is going to be lit.
I would like to know how she got to that little island house.
Well, she used to teach there, and then she left and got engaged or something. He's hired in her place. What's interesting is that it seems like he could be a character that used to be harder inside, and because of him discovering this notebook and his curiosity and doing what he does, his heart like melts a little bit, and he ends up becoming more, I don't know, soft.
Soft.
And
the kids start to warm up to him.
Yeah, he's more accessible as a person over the course of the story. It definitely looks like a lake house.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't mind that similarity. I loved The Lake House, even though that movie didn't make a whole lot of sense. That's one of the few romantic films that I actually very, very much appreciate. The kids are so mean in this movie. Like, they can see that he's very curious about this woman, whoever she is, And they're like, oh, we've got a picture of her. Psych, it's just her hands. But I'm sure like in the story at some point, they'll have a moment of him looking at the photo, longingly looking at her hands.
I hope so.
He has no idea what she looks like.
Well, kids are mean when it comes to love and crushes and all that. It's grounds for making fun of anybody, including adults.
Children are so stupid. From a production standpoint, I find it very fascinating that you have two actors in here who are being introduced into feature films. Pranutan Bahl and Zaheer Iqbal both being newbies, at least to feature films, is interesting to me because normally you just get one. One person is the actor being introduced into the landscape of making movies, but here you got two. To me, that's an interesting risk to take, and I just wonder why. Like, I would love to ask the producers what made them decide to do that. They both look like interesting actors, to say the least. It's interesting how, this is just a minor thing, they show him with the sling around his arm and you're like, what the hell happened? And then the next moment they show you that he fell down and busted his ass.
I do kind of like that it's two unknown actors. I feel like I tend to be drawn to movies where they're more unknown because you're more invested in the story. It's not like, oh, this is Brad Pitt playing Brad Pitt. You get lost in the story a little bit more.
That's a good point because that might lend itself more to believability. There's a movie, an American film called Flight 93. It was based on a true story, but in order to avoid being drawn to one star, they made all of the actors unknowns. You really bought into what was happening because it was almost like watching a documentary. And so here, you having no idea who these people are, like you're learning about them over the course of the story. This is your first experience with them. There is an interesting element there where you could buy into it more because you have no idea who they are.
And I mean, after this movie, I imagine they'll walk down the street and people are gonna recognize the actors by their character name.
Right, that happened. I'm sure Matthew Perry still gets called Chandler in the street.
I mean, I still call him Matthew Perry Chandler. The whole cast of Friends was cast like that.
This is one of those magical stories, even though there's no magical element here. This is one of those magical stories that only works in the movies. I feel like I know what the ending is. I feel like I know what's gonna happen. I don't know if I should say it. Some people get mad at me when I call out the ending during a trailer review because they're like, oh, you ruined it for me. So I'm not gonna say what I think the ending is, but I think everybody knows. That being said, I love this idea because it can only happen in a movie. Like, this can't happen in real life. Unless one of you wants to comment below and tell me about your experience where you found a book that some lady wrote, or if you're a woman and found a book some dude wrote, and you fell in love with this person that you never met.
I'll be completely honest with you. I bought a book once and I like to take notes in my books, and there was one time I wrote a letter to someone, like an unknown person in the front cover, left notes throughout the entire book, and I underlined things, and I went back and I sold it, and I like hoped someone would come find me. Not necessarily romantically. I just kind of hoped someone would like find me and we'd be like lifelong friends. You're learning a lot about me.
I am learning a lot about you. That sounds like a very weird thing to do, but hey.
The book was called Love is a Mixtape, and it involved, your musical tastes. I thought it was a great way to
So, I'm sorry. I need you to walk me through this again. Where did you buy this, and how did you sell it?
Well, I didn't sell it. I gave it to a library. You give books to a library for a used book sale. I didn't sell it. That was the wrong word. But I got the book at a bookstore, and I read the book, and I write in all my books as one does. And
I thought like you just gave away a diary basically. Okay, so you basically made notes in a book.
Yeah,
and then you gave the book back. I see what you did.
Yeah, it wasn't like I gave away my personal thoughts. I mean, yeah. All right, well.
Well, that worked out. Did you put your phone number in there at least?
Oh, I wonder.
No.
Probably not. That's why it didn't work. I don't remember.
That's like,
I think I was a senior in high school.
I feel like that story is the face palm of the century. I wondered why he never got in touch with me and I never made friends. Return address.
Oh boy.
Think of what could have happened if you left your number in there.
As you were saying, oh, who would do this? I'm just going, oh no.
Well, no, I mean, you writing your thoughts is not the bad part.
No. It's the fact that I was wondering if someone would like come find me.
That's not bad either. I mean, it's not. I shouldn't use the word bad. That's not the right word. I'm saying it's not realistic that someone would fall in love with you off of that.
Right. I mean, in a 17-year-old's mind, maybe.
Sure.
Not now.
I would love it if this actually happened in real life, where you stumble upon a notebook of some kind and you just fall in love with someone's mind. Like, literally, you're falling in love with their mind. I've had this weird, thought, and I think they've done reality shows about this, where you don't get to see someone's face.
Catfish.
Is it? It's called Catfish?
Yeah.
I don't think that's the show I'm thinking of, but there's some reality show where you date and you don't get to see their face yet. They're wearing masks. And when you find the person that you like, then you take the mask off and see if you still like them. We often base a lot of how involved we get with someone off of their looks, off of that initial moment of how attracted we are to them physically. Here, It's the opposite, where he's literally falling in love with her brain. And that to me is the coolest thing possible, because you're literally falling in love with someone's personality. And it just so happens she's a hot Betty. That works out. She takes care of herself. She's got good skin. She smells nice. She bathes regularly. It happened to work out.
That's all I can ask for. We don't know if it worked out.
She looks like a model. No, I know. I'm just saying, like, you know how it works out. You know where this is going. I like the idea. If you guys haven't seen The Lake House, definitely watch that movie before you watch this. I'm gonna go and buy that on Blu-ray right now, in fact. You should watch The Lake House. And then The Notebook back to back. We should all watch it together. And cry. And fall in love with Simone's letters. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Be sure to check out Simone and her romantic cliff notes on the social media. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out our other reactions, reviews, and short films. I am Jaby KOAY. This is
Simone BOUFFARD.
Peace out.
I was like, I'm not even sure how this is coming out. Let's see. Yeah, it was a book, and I just like, I don't even know if I had the intention really of like someone coming to find me, but I was like hoping it would happen. Just, you know, your those romantic projections you have on the universe.
You knew exactly what your hopes and intentions were.
Those were my hopes. I don't know if those were my intentions.
You knew what your hopes were.
I didn't have a real boyfriend.
You still don't.
Never.
It's just this imaginary person who says hello in your head. Hi.
And that's the next movie.